Welcome yet again to an amazing month where we're going to share very interesting stuff about business.
Business group coaching is back.
This business started in 2019 on the cusp of COVID.
Right now, the entire organization has over 30 people.
If that is not growth, you see what I meant when I told you we were bringing somebody with results to show?
That the reason why I need to have this is that people who follow me are mostly sinners. So they need to hear the word of the Lord.
So he knew how to calculate cost of goods, he knew how to purchase, he knew how to price, he knew how to repair, he knew even how to collect debts.
You strongly believe Jesus was a businessman?
Yes.
Anyone who sets up a business to work in it, you created a job for yourself, that business will fail.
When the leader sees small, the business is definitely going to stay small, and so is everyone in it, trapped in the smallness.
Exactly.
You who think the business people are not in kingdom business. Ooh.
I was seated there thinking, you will never go big by accident. Yeah. You wake up one day and they're like, do you know what happened to your business? While you slept. Rather, Jesus said, while you sleep, they're sowing the wrong things. So we have to wake up and stir ourselves up. I want to share 8 quick things that we can do that will help us be resilient in volatile times. And I've divided them into 2 halves. The first half is non-financial, and the second half is financial. And contrary to what the people outside are thinking, I'm not going to be long. Financial and non-financial. So, and the thing about these things, they are not new things that you are going to say, wow, this is a new. No, these are principles that have been around a long time that people have used through the ages. And all we need to do is use them. Yeah, that's all. You know, it's interesting how some of these unfancy, non-innovative things are super, super important. Like the heartbeat. You just want it to continue uninterrupted. Don't say like, no, aorta is to the left ventricle, whatever. No, it just every how many beats per minute? 72 to a certain number, depending on whether you take coffee or not. And that's it. Breathing, so old-fashioned. Analog, so analog. Don't digitize it. Let me get to my points. The first one, separate the entities. Separate yourself from your business. This has been an ongoing fight in BLN back in Uganda. I don't know how it is in Kenya. But the whole idea that you and the business are one and the same, we are finished. We are finished. Because when you catch a fever, the business has got a fever. So, before we talk about anything else, I believe we need to deal with this elephant in the room. The separation of entities. Which also means that money doesn't just move from you to the business and the business to you without proper documentation and authorization. Yeah. You know, all the business. This is a kingdom event. We were reminded, and we all know we are stewards. Yeah, and everyone is going to chase and run away from a pastor who takes the church money and uses it as personal money. Aren't we? Yeah. If you find out that I touched yesterday's offering and used it for personal use, what are you going to do? Oh, there is going to be a riot in the church. But why isn't there, you're going to say, reject this business of using church money for personal whatever. But why isn't there a riot in your business when you're using the business money for personal affairs? Yeah. If you think that the pastor has to separate their money from the church, why aren't you separating yours from the business? We all know that the worst pastors are the ones who can't separate money from their personal wealth from the church wealth. So for by extension, the worst business people are the ones who cannot separate their personal money from the business money, and the worst government officials are the ones who cannot separate the country's money from their personal money. And we're together on that. Give me a verse. For me, I'm teaching from the Bible, so 1 Chronicles 29:3. Moreover, because I have set my affection on the house of my God, this was King David, I have given to the house of my God, over and above all that I have prepared for the holy house, my own special treasure of gold and silver. He was giving from his own, not the government treasury. David wasn't making a contribution to the temple from the government treasury. It was from his own account. He wasn't saying as the king. No. It's as an individual. Thank you for that. Understand. So even David understood that there's a difference between my money and the kingdom money. But this separation of entities has become problematic for business people here. That's why the director guest was telling us, decide how you will live. Horizontally or vertically. And the thing that's going to make you live horizontally is this failure to separate the entities. Because then you can't be separated from the thing. You're so kind. So, separate entities. I will say this thing until I go to heaven. Yeah. And that's not soon. So you're going to hear it and hear it and hear it until you do it. Yeah. I think even God is opposed to this whole idea of people who cannot separate entities. That's why he's keeping you small. Yeah, that's why your thing is small. You show me, you say, no, me and my mix, the whatever, but my business is on the stock market. Where is it? Yeah, to go to the stock market, you have to have systems. So that's point one. I'm overstressing it. Point two, I told you it's going to be short. Go big. Go big and multiply. Go big and multiply. Genesis 1:28. God bless them and say, be fruitful, multiply, and fill the earth and subdue it. You see, we are talking about volatility. The biggest waves you'll ever find are out in the ocean. Forget the little ripples you've seen at your local river. That's why they are what they call ocean-going vessels. And they are not small. Your fishing boat with 2 oars, you cannot start rowing to Australia from Mombasa. Just the size of the vessel means it cannot withstand certain levels of volatility. When there are economic crises, while the small people are going out of business, the big people are being, the governments are giving money to the big people to make sure they remain. They are being subsidized. So are you the one who is going to be subsidized in a crisis, or are you the one who is going to be out of business? And I can submerged, subsidized or submerged. Check with your neighbor. Tell them, are you going to be subsidized or submerged? And I can tell you this, it's going to simply depend on what size you are. Oh, yes. One time, I was talking to Bishop Doug. And I was telling him that we were having some challenges with the church in our country because some people from other places had decided they wanted to bomb the churches. And so now we're having to institute security measures, which of course look so good for churchgoers that you're coming to church, but it's like you're entering a military barracks. And he said, that's why you need to be in many countries, so that when there's trouble in one place, you are thriving in another place. Tell your neighbor, that's why you need to be in many countries. I was like, and the simplicity with which he was saying it, it's as if it's very obvious. How come you're only in one country? That's why you're going to have problems there. So some people are shouting reject, but because, you are in one country, and when the problems are there in that country, you're finished. As Director Grace was saying, while you're having a national crisis, other people are thriving elsewhere. So if you were in the elsewhere, you would be thriving there. But what's wrong with us that makes us think that our business can only be in one small kiosk, in one city, in one country? What are we going to do to change this whole thing? You say you want to make money. Go and make it in many places. Or you don't want. Anyway, your silence does not change the facts. Ocean-going vessels are huge. Yeah, they can handle the waves. Little boats should only be used in amusement parks where there are no waves. Yeah. I said little boats should only be used in amusement parks. So decide now if your business belongs in the amusement park where there will be no waves, everything is controlled, or you're ready to go to the ocean. The reception from your side is a bit weak, as in there's like disturbance in the network. What's happening to the network? I thought we are using a common language, the language of business. There is turbulence. Now that you talk about turbulence, one time, my wife was working with a certain organization, and they needed to go to access a certain remote part of the country. So they chartered a small aircraft which seats two passengers, right? She told me, if you ever go into that thing, don't eat anything before boarding, because it will come out. If the wind is blowing, the turbulence is too much on that little thing. And then there are huge Airbus, what? A380. They are serving you with your chicken or beef. Chicken or beef. There are movies. There's a lot of luxury. People are walking around. And depending on which class you're in, you can even sleep horizontally. It's like turbulence. What's turbulence? Where is the turbulence? Oh yeah. The other little thing you can't stand, there are no toilets, there is nothing. You just sit in one place and endure it. So, son of God, daughter of God, where are the similarities between you and your father in heaven? If you think God is a minimalist, go outside and look at the sky. And then you realize we are just hiding from our own DNA. So when you're big, turbulence is not an issue. Volatility is not an issue. Rather, if the government realizes something might happen to you, they have been willing to come and help you. They can't let you sink. But when you're small, you have to get out of the way and we help the big guys. 3. Those are 2. We can end here. 3, innovate. Innovate. And innovation is not coming up with something wildly new. No. It's just improving, tweaking, adjusting something that already is there. All these things are in the Bible. Genesis 26:18. This one, it's Pastor Noah Balesan who first showed it to me. And Isaac dug again the wells of water, which they had dug in the days of Abraham his father. For the Philistines had stopped them after the death of Abraham. He called them by the names which his father had called them. Now there's this verse we all like, Genesis 26:13. Isaac sowed in that land. And you know it was in the time of famine. Yeah? And reaped 100-fold. And the Lord blessed him. And that verse says the man began to prosper. Continued prospering until he became very prosperous. But we never ask ourselves what were the factors behind it all. So let's go back to where it starts. Abraham and Lot, Genesis 13. They have a lot of animals. They can't stay in the same place. And Abraham tells Lot, choose. Our herdsmen are quarreling. You choose, and whatever part you choose, I'll take the other. And what happened? Look at what happened. Lot lifted his eyes and saw all the plain of that it was well watered everywhere. Natural resources. And that's what he chose. What do you think Abraham chose? The bad ground. Whatever was left, the one that wasn't well watered. Are you following? Yes. You see, why do we have 1% of the millionaires and 1% of the global wealth, and yet we have the highest percentage of the natural resources? You see, that when it is working well naturally, it's very dangerous. Yeah, because you switch off your... We don't have winter. So people can survive with all the laziness and a lack of preparedness. So Abraham was forced to innovate, to dig wells to feed the animals. And Isaac used the same technology. So when everyone else was suffering from drought and famine, he was prospering because he had the technology of wells. That's how he sowed in that land and reaped 100-fold. Okay. You can pretend like you always knew it. It was supernatural, but it was naturally supernatural. Because we think that God somehow made these crops grow even when in the scorching sun. No. He was watering. He was irrigating. He had innovated. She went online. Everyone else was looking for holes to hire, and the holes are closed and you can't move. She innovated. How is your business using technology today? Do you even have a technology department or something related? Are you still selling door-to-door bananas? Okay. And please desist from all this big talk that doesn't benefit you. Show me what simple things. Tweak something. Because these things already exist. Well, I hope we can take this. Because, sometimes we just get into all this whole Elon Musk business talk. And, those ends you're here. He's trying to go to the moon. You haven't gone to the next country. Thank you for that thunderous applause. I can see that the points are blessing you. You haven't gone to the next town. You're discussing a man who's trying to go to the next floating object in the sky. Why is your business not in the next town? Why? Is it that they don't have money there to buy your resources, your things? Why is your business not in another country? Okay, you're going to say, tariffs, trade, whatever, obstructions, protectionism. Okay, let's leave that. Next town. Okay, the other side of the same town. To go from Riru to Earth River is 50 kilometers. In the same city. How do you expect, if you are in Earth River, how do you expect the people in Riru to access your resources, your things, if you don't have an outlet there? And to go from, the city center to Riru is 25 kilometers. Earth River is 25 kilometers. Ongataronga is 25 kilometers. These are like completely different countries in the same city. But you are in one spot. Somewhere in Kangemi. You can see that your decision to fail is final and fatal. Like you have decided we will not succeed. Thank you. Innovate. Start leveraging technology. These are not, I try to put it simply because some people will say, that's a big word. Like there's one that was used here of redundancy. Redundancy cover. Huh? Cover. Take cover. No. Let's simplify. I will get to that part because it's financial. But innovate. Do something with what you have your core. Now do something with the core. How do you get it to more people? Simply. Okay. Those are three. I said we are moving quickly. Because when I give my examples, they say, but you are a pastor. For us, we are in business. Who who even has a bigger advantage than business to church? Churches, very few churches are successful compared to businesses. If we look here and say church revenue versus business revenue, who do you think has more money? You guys. But you're here just thinking small. We are trying to do big things with little resources. Yeah, so innovate. Figure out how to get to more people. 4, get wisdom. Yeah, I think it says get wisdom, get understanding. It's the principal thing. She's talked about it, coaching and mentorship. As long as you're in your small world, you think you're succeeding. Go get around people who are going to squeeze your brain and show you that you are not even in the 1% that we are contributing as a whole continent to the number of millionaires. Or like just being here. And some people, they just like the potatoes and whatever. But some people, they are actually picking something. So you need to get around bigger people. Okay, not people who are thinking bigger dreams, bigger entities, bigger companies, bigger people. Yes. Allow to be challenged in your thinking. And don't shy away from it. Don't coil back. Don't feel small. No, receive the challenge. Yeah. I've been challenged by the fact that there's 400 what? 400. There's 14 million millionaires in dollars, and the whole continent from Cape Town to Cairo contributes only 1%. And if we brought in East Africa to say what is East Africa's contribution, we're going to find out that 1%, most of them are South Tip, South Africa, North Tip, Egypt, and a little bit of West Africa, Nigeria. Then the rest of us are there. Our little vessels are being blown. And you're like, I'm looking for equity partners. From the remaining 0.01%. Yeah. So you just start talking about heaven. Like, after all, we are going to heaven. Jesus said, your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Not just wishing to go to heaven because we can't manage earth. Look, if we mismanage earth this much, what portion of heaven do you think you'll be put in charge of? Some of us here, if the part of heaven they give you, you even find dust there. Do you know there is a part of heaven with potholes? So let's get organized. And then they say, really? Who is in charge of that part? Like, we cannot tell you right. It's classified. Wow. So what are the 4 non-financial things you can do to be resilient in the midst of it? 1, separate the entity so that we know what we are talking about. We are talking about your company, not you. Your organization, not you. So that we know what we are dealing with here. 2, go big and multiply. This business of I'm in one spot. That one spot, when it floods there, you are flooded. When people are rejecting there, you're rejected. Okay. 3, innovate. Innovate. Embrace technology. And 4, get wisdom. Now let me get you to the financial ones. They're very traditional. They've been around for a long time. And they work every single time. Let me start with the one that will get at least half of the room leaving so that I can only talk to the serious people. Tithing. Tithing. How do you become resilient in a volatile economy? You start tithing. And I'm now not talking about the individual. I'm talking about the entity. That's why I said let's start by separating. My wife and I, we tithe. But also our ministry tithes. That's why we can never run out of money as an organization. So you should start tithing from your profit. Don't tithe the sales because there is some money that doesn't belong to you. Quiet. Is it time for quiet time? We are in quiet time mode there. Tithing. That's 10% of your profits. Genesis 28:22. This dude who was dangerous, Jacob, he's on his way to his uncle's place. And he has had a vision, a dream. Then it says to God, this stone which I have set as a pillar shall be God's house. And of all that you give me, I will surely give a tenth. You those don't know what tithe is, a tenth. He said, I will surely give. Now, Jacob was about to move into a very volatile environment called Laban. Oh, yes. Laban's economy was very volatile for Jacob. First of all, they gave him the wrong woman. Then he had to work another 7 years to get the right one. Wow, 14 years. Looking for love in all the wrong places. Now, then, the guy, he says, you've changed my wages 10 times. Goalposts were always shifting. Oh. But Laban could not sink Jacob's little boat. Why? The man was a tither. It didn't matter which way Laban swung the bat. Jacob came out on top. Because he was a tither. Look, this is the thing I've been telling everyone. And all the people who have enough, whatever, to listen to me and do it, they will tell you what has happened with their businesses. They are all staying afloat in spite of so many interesting things. Yeah, it just works. I don't know how it works. It works. It's in the scriptures. Start tithing. Whether you're a church, whether you're a ministry, whether you are a business, start tithing. And for those of us in church, your offering and whatever, there is no costs. The tithe and offerings, there is no cost of production. So you tithe 10% of what comes in. You can't say, you are not like the guy selling cement. The first has to give the supplier his share, then says, oh, this is the profit, this is what we are tithing as a business. Why are the Jews the wealthiest people overall? Because of two things. The tithe, even the one they call themselves non-practicing Jews, they tithe. And the Sabbath. Yeah, deliberately cutting back from reducing your working advantage by a day and your working capital by 10% has given them an advantage over everyone else. The people who tithe in America, at least they are 25% of the billionaires, not millionaires, billionaires. Look, for those of us who are Africans, you already know with this 1% business, we have not It's like when you find a guy whose income is 10,000 Kenya shillings. Look, with 10,000 Kenya shillings a month, whether you tithe or not, you're going to suffer. So, you decide whether you suffer with God in the boat or you suffer without God in the boat. It is that's nonsensical to negotiate. Yeah. So we Africans, let other people argue about tithe, but not us. For us, we need supernatural intervention. Yeah, there is nothing in the natural we can do to recover ourselves. Yeah. Look, in my leadership of Worship Harvest Ministries, deciding to tithe 10% of all the income, regardless of what it is for, is probably one of the top 5 best decisions I've ever made. Yeah, it ranks as one of the top 5 best decisions. I think it's in the top 3. Yeah, and because I can't currently think quickly of another one, so I have to say it could have easily been the best, but I'm thinking another one may show up which might be the best. So let me put it in the top 3. And as a business person, if you do this thing, you may find that it's also going to be one of the top 3 best decisions you ever made for your business. If you do it. Oh, yeah. Look, if God willing, we'll be back next year. I hope to see you here. That you will not have been one of the victims of the volatility because you did not take this. Yeah. And when it comes to tithing, don't plan to have a board meeting to start thinking of doing it in a year's time when things are better. You will never do it. Look, when we started tithing as a church, our tithe would be, I remember one time we were sending tithe to a certain church, an Anglican church where we used to have our rehearsals. So these guys have been good. Assess, honor them. We had to write a letter. Do you know why we had to write a letter? Because the tithe, I'm calculating it in my head, was less than 300 Kenya shillings. So you have to explain why you're giving this money. It's so little, it needs explanation. It was the equivalent of around 230 shillings. That's what we could give as a church, as a ministry. We are not talking about individual tithing. This one, what were you thinking? We are talking about the church is sending tithe to another church. Yeah, that's what came in that week, and we are tithing it all to this other church. 230 KES with a letter on headed paper. Oh, signed by the pastor. Senior pastor. Now when I look at what we have given just this year, it's more than close to, if not more than 30 million Kenya shillings. Just giving to other ministries. Why? Because we've kept the principle for years. And I believe that they will come and will be giving $1 million to other churches. Okay, you say you are anti-tithing. Okay, you show us your reserves, because they've been talking about reserves. They say if I tithe, I will not have reserves. Okay, show us the reserves. Okay, because when he started talking about reserves, everyone went quiet. Point 6. Point 6 is the one you don't want again. Reserves. Save 20% of all your profit. Make it part of the company. This is what Joseph told Pharaoh. That's how they saved Egypt. Get a wise man. Give me that verse. Genesis 41:34. Let Pharaoh do this, and let him appoint officers over the land to collect 1/5 of the produce of the land of Egypt in the 7 plentiful years. 1/5 is 20%. Go back to verse 33. Let's see. Now, therefore, let Pharaoh select a discerning and wise man and set him over the land of Egypt. And let Pharaoh do this. Appoint officers. A discerning and wise CEO takes 20% of all the profits in the time of plenty, which means every time you make money, and sets it aside for the days of volatility, scarcity. Because volatility, like he said, the only thing we know about it, it will always come. Are we there? 20%. If you had been doing this for many years, okay. So I told you, let's say, let me think. Let me hope we are thinking. I told you we have given out close to, if not more than, about 30 million Kenya shillings. Yeah, the Ugandans, your money is too much. So we are using Kenya shillings today. Because when you start using Uganda, you even looks like it's a lot of money. Mercy, Lord. So, give or take. What do you think the reserve, the 20%, would be? Now, yeah, that means that money will never be destroyed. And this is half year. So what will happen by the end of that means the ministry increases in value by that or more, whether we fundraise or not. Yeah. If you just calculate your profit and 20% of it for the last 5 years, and you'd see where your business would be now. You will collapse. But I think, I'm told Nairobi Hospital is really good. Yeah. Because you realize how you've wasted the opportunity to build a robust, serious organization. It's a little bit money, a little here. And then when all this noise we are making about borrow from here, lend, it is unnecessary. Yeah. Because you want to expand, you have the money. You just said, last week, I had a crazy opportunity to buy a wonderful piece of land came up for one of our churches. I mean, I went there, I saw this land, I was like, we have to get it. But we are in the middle of building. Everyone has already made their pledges. Where are you going to turn? You can't call another meeting and say, guys, we need money for this. I said, there's this investment. How much of the returns from the investment is there since we put it? Just the return from the investment was enough to pay half, 50%, which is required to get from there. And let's get this. Now, everyone else is trying to look for someone to lend them. For us, we could just get a rate. And I was very careful. I was like, I will only get as much as the return on the investment, not the principal. Because the principal must stay there, and we have to keep increasing the principal. Now, why can't that be your business? You've seen a great opportunity, a door has opened. You're like, this is what's going to really take us to the next level. You don't have the money. Why? You neglected common wisdom that has been used since the days of Pharaoh. That's 6,000, 4,000 years ago. Proven. Let's finish. That was, 6. 7, create separate accounts. Deuteronomy 28:8. The Lord will command the blessing on you in your storehouses. That's accounts today. And you know which you set your hand to do. There's a principle they teach us in School of Practical Business of profit first and having different accounts. If your business has a lot of supplier payments, you must have a supplier's account. You don't wait for a supplier account and say, we are low on cash flow. No. You know what percentage you pay the supplier of every sale. Have a supplier account. You know what percentage goes to taxes of every sale. Have a tax account. You know what percentage is human resource. If you're a human resource heavy organization, have an HR account where of every sale, this percentage goes to that HR account. When it's end of month, everyone is being paid. You're not explaining. So have separate accounts for different things. Because the Lord will command blessing on your storehouses, your accounts. Don't say, there's a certain food they like here in Kenya. Let me first not talk about it. But when you go to a nice hotel or wedding or whatever, and there's a buffet, do you know what makes it nice? Every food there was cooked in a separate saucepan. They didn't get everything through. Why are we wasting time? They didn't throw the beef, the chicken, the maize, the beans, the potato in one pan and they heat up and they start stirring. Now I'm describing some of your company accounts. It's like one big pot and the heat is on. And people can't explain, what aroma is this? Is this chicken? Is this potatoes? What are we cooking? I'm finishing. What's the first point? Separate entities. Points. What's the second one? Go big. Multiply. The third one. The fourth one. This is where people don't want to invest. You reap what you sow. You invest 0 in wisdom, you get 0 in wisdom. Okay. Let me repeat it. Let me stay here. You don't want to pay coaches. You don't want to pay for the business coaching. You only want to pay for potatoes and beans. When you even want to pay for the food in the restaurant where you're seated with your coach and mentor, like Director Grace, but you don't want to put anything to give him. In other words, you value your stomach over your head. That's why you have stomach stuff and nothing going on in the upstairs. Yeah. Is your business upstairs or downstairs? So how much do you invest there? Versus here. Oh yeah. When it comes to tangible things, food, you are willing to pay. Knowledge, no. That's why people will build a huge, ugly monstrosity. Because they were willing to buy the sand and cement, but they would not pay an architect. A proper architect. Like the one standing in front of you. To design it. But bricks, you will pay any amount. You're not negotiating with a bricklayer. But just for the plans, you charge that much. Why? Wait. African mentality. We value tangible things and disvalue intangible things. And we don't know that the intangible things create the tangible things. Five tithe, 6, 7. I thought this was really sensitive, but this last point, I almost have to say it while getting towards the exit. Eight, to survive volatile times and be resilient. Eliminate debt. Eliminate debt. Forget this whole idea that everyone works with debt. You are the only one who thinks like that. Yeah, they sold you. Look, it's the only people making money from debt are the lenders. That's why they have those huge skyscrapers. You have just stress. Let me show you a scripture. You already know Proverbs 27, the borrower is servant to the lender. But let me show you Deuteronomy 15:6 as I sit. For the Lord your God will bless you just as he promised you. How will you know that he has blessed you? You shall lend to many nations, but you shall not borrow. In other words, if you are into borrowing and not lending, you are not really blessed. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen.